Hi, everybody. This is Ken Parrish with the Houston office of Harrison Landscape and Design. First of all, I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome anyone that I haven't had a chance to either speak with or meet yet. I look forward to getting to know you in the future. The purpose of this short video is Harrison and I have had a number of discussions over the past couple of weeks regarding the creation of a status report. The primary driver behind the status report is one, to kind of give a current state of the world as of, say, April 1st, 2019. But the second larger driver is that as a function of the architecture of our existing agreements with our current clients, we are carrying the costs of mulch and seasonal color. And what that essentially means is we are affording our clients an interest-free loan to over the life of the service agreement. We're paying up front to have all of this work done, but we're not recovering those costs immediately. We're recovering them over time. And Danny wanted to know, what is the immediate impact of that cash outlay right now? And more specifically, how much time is it going to be required to recover those costs to where we get back flat? So what I've taken the opportunity to do is to create a couple of slides that help me to illustrate and answer those questions. So without further ado, let's get going. So this first slide, I'm hoping that you will see as largely representative of a much larger aggregate of information that I have in my spreadsheet. More than welcome to request that spreadsheet, can send it to you, and can go over it with you if you'd like. But by representative, I mean to show a little bit of history, as well as kind of the architecture of where we stand and how things got set up. Harrison and I began informally discussing me helping him find service providers for a Cinemark in New Caney, Texas in June. I learned that the typical monthly revenue was about $1,200 a month, and we discussed trying to find somebody to take care of the property for about $150 to $175 a week. I was able to get somebody to take care of it for $200 a week. And we had a little bit of additional work. I've now come to realize that the term that the Dallas office uses for this is not ad hoc, as called special services. This was not special services. This was a part of the basic service agreement to clean up a property that was largely full of weeds and very, very large. Now, after June, nothing else happened. I basically just oversaw this one individual taking care of this one piece of property. There was no discussion about expanding the business until September. And in September, we decided to do things on a more formal basis, in which we acquired a sales representative and then added salaries to the tune of $6,500 a month. And then from September, we began to lay the framework and the foundation for making contacts with clients and establishing relationships. Those relationships began to prove lucrative in January. And after numerous negotiations and after signing contracts, these executed contracts began or were actually started in the first week of January. So as you can see, we didn't have a whole lot of revenue up until that point, but with these new clients, we added over $9,000 worth of additional revenue. And of course, for January, the basic service cost was relatively low because we were only doing it twice a month. We did have some additional special services that were profitable during October, November, and December and January. I've just chosen to represent them here. And of course, the following months, for February, we added a few more clients. I think one or two more clients in February. A lot of clients in March, mostly the La Quintas that just started. And then, of course, in April is a projection. And with that, if we look at it, assuming that our projections are correct, we show about $22,600 worth of revenue versus about $14,500 worth of basic service costs. The subject, the overall driving subject matter of having talking about mulch and seasonal color will come on the last slide, and the impact of us aggregating those costs in and embedding those costs into the existing service agreement we'll talk about in a little while. So carrying over from the previous slide, we show that our standard service agreement as of the end of March is $14,500. Now, I've chosen to represent monthly revenue. I've chosen to take out April because April is a projection. We're just looking at actual numbers, the actual revenue stream that we know we're going to receive. You're at $20,100, $20,112. Now the margin or the difference, the profit margin between these two numbers is about 38.5%, which is really right in our wheelhouse. However, we still haven't gotten to the subject, not in depth, of mulch and color and allowing our clients to carry the cost, carry the full cost of mulch and color over the life of the agreement. Let's assume for the moment that we do allow them to carry that cost. It's important to note that in Houston, with our 20 existing clients, 18 of those clients have mulch and color embedded in the 12-month agreement. So if we average out the projected costs of that mulch and color, we get about $6,500 a month of additional cost. Now, if you add that $6,500 to the $14,500, you get, as of April or the end of March, you get $21,000 of costs versus $20,000 worth of revenue. So you're losing $900 as of April. The thing about that is that in April, you now have the full service taking place. So your basic service costs have also gone up. Now let's answer a very central question that pretty much everyone has had. Where do we need to be in a given month right now? Where do we need to be in order to break even? And let's add salaries to that. Approximately, if we get to $27,500 worth of revenue, $27,500 worth of revenue, and we don't add any additional contracts where mulch and seasonal color are embedded in those contracts, then at $27,500 or $28,000 worth of revenue, we are currently at break even. We're covering the costs, our base costs to provide the service, plus all of our salaries. So the following two slides are really the heart and the crux of this report. What I'm attempting to do is show cumulatively what our costs have been since inception in June versus what our cumulative revenue has been from the same time frame. If we look in June, what we see here is the original $1,550 of costs, which essentially was the $800 for the service for June at the Cinemark that we represented in the first slide, plus the $750 worth of ad hoc fees, and the $1,200 for the revenue stream. Followed the following month by adding an additional $1,000 to the $1,550 for service that month. You see $2,400 cumulative revenue from the bill for that month. And the same thing in August until we arrive at September. Now remember what happened in September. We added salaries and we added sales. You see a significant jump in the cumulative costs because we're adding approximately $6,500 a month, but we're not adding any additional revenue. Now let me say, to be fair, that over the course of the 2 months to 2.5 to 3 months to get to December, we laid the foundation for relationships with any number of clients. And the majority of these commercial clients were already in existing agreements that they couldn't exit until the first week in January. So a number of the executed contracts didn't actually start until that first week. So through October, you see significant costs, no additional revenue. Same thing in November, same thing in December. But then in January, you see a significant jump in the revenue, almost double from what it was the month before. We added an additional $9,000 in revenue. And of course, in February, same basic thing. We added about additional $1,250 or thereabouts in February. And of course, in March, we do see our first indication of the impact of paying up front for the mulch and seasonal color. But we also add an additional $8,600 worth of revenue. So we still see the relationship between the red columns and the green columns after, the 1st of February being about the same distance. Where things start to get complicated, and please don't be scared off by sticker shock, but we still lack approximately 10 of our clients to install the mulch and the color that they've contracted for. And the cost of that's going to, increase, our basic service cost because we're going to be doing it 4 times a month, plus the mulch and seasonal color rises our total cost to, again, cumulatively as of April, $128,057. If you want to know what the net cost is for April, it's going to be 128 minus 84. And of course, our revenue stream is going to be cumulatively up to $80,000. And again, this particular chart is to represent where we are as of April. So the central question that this status report is trying to answer is, how long before we recover all of our costs, given the projections for revenue streams going forward? As you can see, this is the same chart from the previous slide. There's April, our revenue and our costs in April. And what this chart is showing you is that if we just add what our projections are, which are $2,500 worth of additional revenue per month going forward, and that is revenue that does not require that we cover the costs of mulching and seasonal color, that we carry the costs of mulching and seasonal color for our clients. These are just service agreements. Then we will recover all of our initial investment costs in January of next year, which is in the next 9 months. This is also as of April. This is representative. It's a slide to basically represent revenue versus total costs. So on this last slide, I would like to try and illustrate why I think that as a company, we should resist allowing our clients to aggregate or carry cost of large purchases over the life of their contracts. I'm not saying that we should never do it. I just think that in order to do it, we need to be able to know what premium we should charge those clients in order to justify allowing them to carry their costs interest-free. In order to do it, I'm going to have to show an example. So I'm going to apologize in advance because you're going to see a lot of numbers. They're going to be jumbled together and you may not really catch on too much. But essentially, what we have here is we have a bid of $1,000 per month to a client. We have a markup for margin of 38%. We've established weekly service costs of $140. In addition, as a function of actually winning the contract, we had to agree to install 500 flowers twice a year and agree to install 10 yards of mulch twice a year at the relative costs that you see there. And these are costs, not we're not passing those on separately in a separate bill back to the client. They're embedded over time and supposedly, hopefully, captured in that $1,000 you see for monthly revenue. Now, I want to represent this again over the life of the contract, because without doing that, you can't really see just how long it's going to take you once you pay this $1,625 in April. How long is it going to take you to recover that? So let's take a look. So total revenue again is $12,000 a year. The profit that you're going to have to get if it's 38% is $275 per month over the life of the year. That leaves you with $725 of actual money to pay for all of the services and for the bundled expenses. $35 worth of chemical treatments. The cost of the weekly service for each week during the month are as follows: higher in the summer, lower in the shoulder months. And the average monthly costs to carry mulching color, this is an interesting topic. You can look at this $3,250 for mulching color over the course of the year as an absolute number expressed in April and October, or you can look at it as an average over time. In this first example, we're going to look at it as an average over time. So the average cost of $3,250 is about $270 a month for 12 months. So how does the profit margin look if you add that $271 to the cost of the weekly service and the cost of the chemical treatments? We're leaving the profit out for obvious reasons. Essentially, you're making $414, right? If you added the $275 to it, you would still be in the money. What you want is that $414 to be greater than $275. Same thing in February and in March. Of course, in April, it drops not because of the price of the mulch, you're averaging that out over time, but it drops because you have more service dates in April: May, June, July, August, September, and of course, in October, it drops. And then, of course, it goes up back in November and December. While I don't necessarily think that it's a bad idea to average these costs over the life of the loan, just keep $270 in your mind, right? So what we are actually doing, what I've been hearing is what everybody seems to just be up in arms about is this one number, that $1,625. If you multiply that times 10 clients, right? That's in terms of cost to get it taken care of, we're talking about $16,000 in terms of mulch and color in April. Those are absolute numbers. Yeah, it doesn't really matter if you're talking about 10 clients or 100 clients or one client. The numbers are going to basically fall out the same. So let's look at it in terms of absolute value, in which we use 275 plus we use the total, the target profit plus the chem treatment plus the cost of the weekly service minus the, subtracted from the revenue. You get 410. 410 in February, 410 in March. But then in April, you're going to get a negative number because you're going to multiply the revenue for the month versus this allocation of $1,625. But there's your bogey right there. It's $1,500. The cost to recover, if you're looking on average, you would divide 1,500 by 270, right? 1,500 by 270. And by doing that, you're talking about basically 5 months to cover or to recover that cost so you can get back to even. Of course, the reason why it breaks down and gets actually smaller is because in May you have more service dates, so your profit margin goes down, but you're still positive. If that number were negative, what it would say is that we have to lower our profit margin in order to get that number to be positive again. These being positive numbers are good, and so July is a negative number because we have 5 service dates: August, September, October. Same thing as in April, November, December. Where this gets compelling, it gets interesting, is when you look at it cumulatively, right? When you look at these values cumulatively over time. First month, 410, second month, 820, 820 plus 410, 1230, etc. And then you get into April, you get a minus number, and then cumulatively you see it expressed negatively. What is this representative of? It's representative of the speed at which you're recovering that $1,625. And the question is, do you recover that $1,625 before you reach October? The answer is yes, you do. Because if you'll notice when you get to September, so you're talking about 5 months. So from April, you get April, May, June, July, and then in August, that fifth month, you're positive again. Like I said, if you divide 270 by 1,625, you get about 4.5, 5. And of course, you're back down to negative again when you get to October, November, and December. Now, this is what this looks like if you graph it, right? Representatively, you're carrying the cost, you're carrying the absolute cost of the client for about 5 months. And when you finally come out, you're at that $245 needed to be, um, it needs to be positive in order for you to keep your profit margin the way that it is. You can actually affect these numbers. You can affect the trajectory of the graph by either increasing your monthly revenue, lowering your markup value or the profit margin that you require, or lowering the cost of basic service. Finally, in the end, what is the message? I don't think it's a problem carrying these costs for the client over time as long as they pay a significant premium. If we are charging or we're paying $100 a yard, I think we need to charge them. And how do we charge them? We're not charging them up front. We're charging them over time. And the way we do is we just average out $160 a yard for mulch over the life of the contract. And now, if we were to do that, that would not be $1,000. That would probably be closer to $1,300. And the client might go, well, that's too high. I can't afford that. So again, there's a balance involved here. But I think the message is, if you look at that chart, is that it's something that we should resist doing unless we're being paid a premium to actually do it. That ends this particular presentation or ends this particular report. Please feel free to give me a call. Let's set up a meeting if you guys want to discuss further. Take care. Bye.